Welcome back. It's 4 after 12 o'clock. I'm going to be talking now with human rights and social justice activist Mark Heywood. Just to tell you a little bit about his background, not too much, just a little bit. He's a social justice activist based in Johannesburg. He studied English language and literature at Oxford University, at one of the colleges there, and later African literature at the University of Witwatersrand. And how on earth does he find himself in a space as a human rights and social justice activist? Good afternoon. Welcome. What a far cry from what you've actually studied. Okay, I can't hear you, Mark. I'm not sure. I can't hear you. I don't know if, can you unmute yourself? There you go. Nope. Something's wrong. Let's get our producer to try and sort out the sound issue. Mark, don't go away. We'll try and reconnect or do some magic to get you back on air. Please stand by.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa. Listen to something fresh.
Yes, indeed. Of course, every problem must have a solution. Otherwise, we can discuss it. And what is norm in the particular with politics, everybody attacks everybody else, but nobody wants to be social. Let me start by saying that you can roll out thousands of police officers. You're not deal with the issue. You can pour more and more resources. You are not going to be able to. What we need to do is get of crime. First of all, you have a very unemployment rate. Then you have a high of dysfunctional families. The available drugs and alcohol, taverns and shit, 24 hours a day. Added to that economic conditions under which our people, malnutrition or hunger. Many of them are going hungry to bed. Some of them are dying. But water and sanitation, who are some of these areas where they live. Now, these are all some of the contributing factors. And that is the poor quality of basic education. Has very little or nothing to attract learning.
Leader of the National Freedom Party, Brother Ahmed Mansour Sheikh Imam.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity. Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media.
First, it was all the rockets. It was on top of our homes, on top of our cities. Our homes was shaking. Israel stopped these rockets on top of the Palestinian cities. They deal with the Palestinian city like if it was empty without people. They make sure that they not have any fragment fall down on them. So they do that on top of our cities and in our villages. Of course,
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Come back at 7 after 12 o'clock. And of course, our producer has used her magic wand. I hope that we are able to connect with you. Mark Heywood, can you hear me? Good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, I don't know what's going on, and I am really quite put out because this is an important conversation to be had. We're going to try one more time. Let's see if we can reconnect with Mark, even if it means just via telephone. We need to have this discussion. Okay, I did indicate that Mark is a South African human rights and social justice activist. He's based here in Johannesburg. I also said that he studied English language and literature at a college at Oxford University, and then later African literature at the University of the Witwatersrand. And here he finds himself being a human rights and social justice activist. We're going to be talking about food justice now, confronting corporate silence with you, Mark Heywood. Good afternoon. Welcome. I do hope you can hear me now.
I can, and apologies. I don't know what happened, but lovely to speak to you.
Likewise. So we've already, because of the sound issues, we've already lost about 6 minutes of our time. But very quickly, I'm dying to know, how come you've moved from language and literature to a human rights space?
Well, I moved a long time ago. I did my degrees in the late 1980s and early 1990s. But, as you mentioned, both of them were in literature, the first in English literature and the second in African literature. And what literature teaches me most is about humanity and dignity and people's opportunities. So I think actually literature became an entry point for working on issues that seek to try and make sure that everybody can live good lives and everybody has human rights.
Wow. Okay, so I understand that the South African Human Rights Commission hearings are now shining a spotlight on hunger in South Africa, and not a moment too soon, might I add. What are the most urgent findings or concerns that have emerged thus far?
Well, the Human Rights Commission hearings are taking place or took place over 7 days last week and the week before, and they're really probing the state of South Africa's food systems. And the reason why they're probing them is because our food systems are failing to do the most fundamental thing they should be doing, which is getting food to people. And we have a country where more than 20 million people live with hunger. Some of those people are hungry all of the time. Some people are hungry when money runs out at the end of the month. We have 10,000 children a year who die of malnutrition.
Sure.
And that is 30 children a day if you want to really visualize it. And we're not a country that has food scarcity. In fact, we're a country that has a food surplus. So clearly something is going wrong. And what we are trying to do is get as quickly as possible to solutions to fix the food system, to make sure not just that people have food, but that they have healthy and nutritious food that can assist child development and prevent disease if you're an adult.
I'm going to digress here for a minute and then get back to the heart of the matter. I've noticed a lot of restaurants, and maybe this is just a drop in the ocean, and, food chain stores dumping. And apart from them, a lot of farmers too are dumping surplus food. Farmers are saying that if they don't dump it, they're not meeting their profit margins. And as far as retailers are concerned, their excuse is that if the food has gone off, it's going to be a health risk for the people that they hand the food to. So I was thinking orphanages, old age homes, etc., etc., etc. So that's the one part of my question. And then we also have the role of certain large retailers, or possibly most large retailers. The role they play in either alleviating or exacerbating food insecurity. Who are these role players? Are they making a significant difference? And where and how do you, Mark Heywood, as a social justice activist, make sense of all of this? How do we call them out? And how do we make them start becoming more responsible?
Well, you're right on all the points that you've just raised. First of all, let me talk about food waste. Our country throws away 10 million tons of food a year.
Sure.
Yeah. That's 1/3 of all food that is grown or produced gets thrown away. And that's for the reasons that you've said. Some of it is thrown away at the farm level because the tomato might be a little bit too small, or a potato might be misshapen, or whatever, but there's nothing actually wrong with the tomato or the potato or whatever it may be. And as you've said, some of it gets thrown away at the supermarket because it didn't get sold on the particular day. It's approaching the expiry date. And if we were able to rescue or divert that food, not just small amounts, but large amounts of it, then we would make a big dent on hunger in this country. And as you've said, we could divert it to children's homes, we could divert it to old age homes, we could divert it to schools where children are hungry. There's just so much that could be done. And in some countries of the world, there's a law that actually prohibits wasting food. And that is something that we are asking for as the Union Against Hunger, that it becomes illegal to just throw away perfectly good food. And the other problem, Julie, that you've also touched on is, although food is a right by law, by our constitution, it's also something that rich and powerful companies use to make lots of money, to get wealthy people to get even wealthier. And so companies like ShopRite, who make, huge profits from selling food, price food at a level that's not affordable to millions of people. So millions of people get hungry, not because they're living far, 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 far away from food, but often within sight of food, but they just can't afford it. And that's a problem. And, we are appealing to the consciences of ShopRite and others to price essential foodstuffs. Not everything that you see in a supermarket, but essential foodstuffs at levels that are affordable to people. And if they don't do that, then we're going to take action against them, and we're going to ask the government to regulate food prices to make sure that they are affordable. So there's lots that can be done, but it really depends upon, you and me and the people who are listening to us today becoming more aware and outspoken on this issue, because hunger creates so many social ills in our country. It's the pain of one person, but it carries over into education, into health, into gender-based violence, so many things. And it's just not acceptable.
Couldn't agree with you more. We need to go for an ad break. When we come back, let's talk about how your organization is able to, together with other partners, truly get government involved, because clearly up to now, 31 years into our democracy, the situation seems to be worse than ever before.
Yeah.
If government hasn't done anything as yet, what is it that we ought to be doing to get them to start being proactive regarding this matter? Very especially, I think the one thing that really irks me the most is the dumping of the food and the fact that supermarkets would rather dump their food, farmers and supermarkets, than passing it on to the people who need it most. But please stay with us.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Dad, these Frymax chips are so tasty.
Wow, that really takes me back. My dad bought me a Frymax chips every day after school. They were my favorite when I was your age as well. Quality is at the very heart of what we do, and that's why we ensure that every Frymax packet is filled with the beautiful goodness and flavor-packed taste that you've come to expect from us since 1982. Frymax, from generation to generation.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future. We've got you covered. Build on your wealth portfolio with Rendry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange. Visit us at 151 Stephen Dlamini Road, Musgrave, Durban, or call us on 031-202-4700 for more information. Rendry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. It's exactly 19 after 12 o'clock. My guest is human rights and social justice activist Mark Heywood. We're talking food justice now and, of course, confronting corporate silence about this whole issue. Mark, welcome back. And can you tell me what sort of work or what sort of successes have you at the Human Rights and Social Justice space been able to make regarding this matter? And I know you are involved in many other types of human rights issues. You speak on behalf of the downtrodden and the oppressed. But in this specific space, have you had any wins over time? And how long are you holding up this particular flag regarding, obviously, food, food being a basic human right, like water is?
Well, look, I mean, I'll hold this flag of food and, correctly you say, water as a basic human right until it is a basic human right, until people have that right and people are not hungry and being disadvantaged by hunger. And, we're taking up this as a campaign with a newly formed organization. We formed it last year called the Union Against Hunger, because we believe that there are solutions to hunger and that we need to create a lot of noise and a lot of visibility until government and until ShopRite and other companies find some mettle and some will to recognize and to address the hunger issue, because we don't think it's conscionable for our country to live with so many people facing hunger on a daily basis. What motivates me is the belief that, if good people stand up, then we can make change. As you said, I've been a human rights activist for 40 years or something. Ooh. And I've been involved in issues where I've seen that when people get together and say, this is what we want with the human right, change can come. And, most obviously, 20 years ago, I was one of the people who led the Treatment Action Campaign, which fought for access to medicines for people with AIDS. Mm-hmm. And we succeeded. And today 6 million people have antiretroviral medicines. When we started, nobody had antiretroviral medicines. So that's my dream on food, that today 20 million people are hungry, but in a few years we can get that number down dramatically if we stand together and if we are clever in the way that we carry out this campaign, so that millions of people say, this is wrong and I want to join this.
So, Mark, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Firstly, are there any countries around the globe that have a model that your organization would like to adopt and perhaps present it to our government to say, this is workable, this is doable, it needs to be introduced in our country? That's number one. Number two, when you talk about getting large corporates on board regarding, alleviating the current food crisis, we do know that all of these companies are interested in their bottom line. They're interested in what happens at the stock exchange, the foreign investment, etc., etc. You know where I'm going with this question.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, we have that issue, and then there must be countries in the world that has a model that is working, is workable, and we can replicate it and introduce it into our country and make governments sit up, listen, take note, and introduce it. If not, you and I know what the outcome could eventually be. We could be staring an African uprising straight in the face.
Absolutely. So, yes, there are. Brazil is a country under President Lula that has taken hunger seriously, and it has really significantly cut child hunger through a number of interventions around child health and that prioritize children. And in fact, President Lula of Brazil, launched a global campaign against hunger, trying to build on Brazil's example. Then, as I said, there are also countries that have introduced laws that prohibit the wastage of food by retailers and supermarkets. There are some countries that control the prices of essential foodstuffs. So there are models in many places, and we seek to persuade our government that those models should be followed, and that it's not a choice, to be honest with you, because our constitution is the supreme law, and it says that everybody has a right to sufficient food, and government must do all that it can to make that possible. At the moment, it is not doing all that it can. And when it comes to the retailers, and I keep talking about ShopRite because we're focusing on ShopRite because it sells, particularly to middle class and lower income and no income people. It's one of the biggest, socioeconomic groups that are served by ShopRite. Then we say to ShopRite, if you don't act, then we're going to compel you to act. We say to ShopRite, your CEO earns 90 million rand a year, which is just shocking. 90 million rand a year.
Absolutely.
when the teller at ShopRite doesn't earn enough money often to buy food for her family, because it's often women, they get a few thousand rand a month. And that's not moral. And, if ShopRite doesn't listen, then we will ask people to use their consumer power and to shop at places other than ShopRite until ShopRite changes its attitude on this. We started this conversation talking about the Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission has summoned ShopRite and other Pick n Pay and others to come before the commission to explain themselves and explain why their prices are so high. So, unfortunately, private companies, as you say, it's the shareholders first, not the stakeholders. But we have to change that.
A while ago, and I'm not sure if this was an initiative by the human rights, and social justice activists, the foundation you're with, or was it just people on the ground? I'm not quite sure, but you might have. You must have come across this as well. There's been talk in the press. It was quite a heated debate. It seems to have fizzled out now. There was a talk around the astronomically high salaries being earned by CEOs and top and middle management, whereas the people on the ground who are actually doing the work can't even put food on the table. So do you know if anything has come out of that? Is this something you would pursue as well, being a human rights activist?
Yes, it is something we would pursue because it's unfair. Most of the retailers, of the bosses of Woolworths, of Pick n Pay, of ShopRite, Spar, and so on, are taking home salaries of 60, 70, 80 million rand a year. We have to control wealth, the upper levels of wealth, because really, when you're at that level of salary, it's just theft. It's as you say, the people who are making the money are the people who are doing the work in the shop, on the farm, and so on. The people who are collecting the money are the people who are sitting in the offices at the top. Now, it's fine. They can earn higher salaries, but they can't earn higher salaries at that level. It's just immoral in the context of hunger. So these are things, these are discussions we have to have in society as a whole. Is it acceptable? And these are things that really, you and me, I buy food from ShopRite. we've got to be asking. We we are the real shareholders, because we're the people who give them our money every time we go into the shop and buy things.
So, Mark, I'm going to have to wrap up now in a minute or two, but let me ask you this question. Is this issue not a global issue, the issue around CEOs, or, all these fat cats taking the big bucks home, and the working class just seems to be getting poorer? They can't even put food on the table.
It's very much a global issue and a matter of global concern. It's happening in most countries of the world, and we have to stop it. But, the way to stop it is by dealing with it in our own backyard. And that's what we have to do. And luckily in South Africa, we are fortunate as people, because we still have freedom of expression, rights to protest, rights to picket, rights to speak to the media, and human rights, like the right to food. So we need to use those rights to make the change. It's not the same in a country like Zimbabwe or China or many other countries of the world, where if you speak out on these issues, you quickly find yourself in a prison.
Do you believe you guys are making a dent? Are people sitting up and taking notice? Are people becoming interested in these issues? And do you think that you would get an upsurge regarding this matter in particular, because it is about food security? It's about people, being able to feed themselves and the families.
I think that we are beginning to make a dent. There's a very, very long way to go, and we need a lot more people to be involved. But I do think that our voice is starting to be heard, and that's a start. and we have to keep going.
Okay, what can ordinary people, lay people listening and watching the show today, people like myself, what can we be doing to start making a difference to this very pertinent issue?
Well, a few things. I mean, first of all, wherever you live, there's bound to be hunger and need. So what do you do in your community to identify that need and to try to meet it in a way that's dignified to people who are suffering hunger? Is it through supporting an old age home? Is it through assisting create community gardens for healthy vegetables? Is it by assisting a school? There's a lot that we can do at that level, at that very basic level. What do we do to not throw away food in our own kitchens if we're privileged enough to have a fridge full of food? What do we do with our surplus food? So that's the immediate thing. But then there are campaigns. If people have been interested by this conversation, look up the Union Against Hunger on the website, www.unionagainsthunger.org. We have campaigns against ShopRite, a petition calling on ShopRite to lower its prices that people can sign. We're doing a number of things to try to address the food and hunger issue. So there's a lot, but it does depend upon people feeling strongly enough to want to take some initiative.
Mark Heywood, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Your heart certainly is in the right place. God bless and continue doing this work. You are so needed in this community. And let's hope we have many more Mark Heywoods that rise up and start addressing these issues. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you and God bless too. And thank you so much for having this conversation this afternoon. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. It is exactly 12:33. We're moving along, and next on the show, Nomzamo Vali, Project Manager at TB HIV Care.